Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special week of the FPV Podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about drone racing at the Dover International Speedway. From June 2nd through June 4th, we're going to be up at the Nascar Series. So they're going to have their World Truck Series, the NASCAR Xfinity Series, the NASCAR Cup Series. But we're also going to have drone racing up there, and that's what we're going to be covering. We're going to be the commentators at that site, doing all of the drone racing commentary. So before we tell you all about that and what you need to know, we just want to tell you a brief bio of ourselves so you get to know us a little bit more. So, my name is Y Lamb. I host the FPV Podcast since 2015. I've been an event organizer and also a race director for the last 2 years. Been flying FPV since 2015. If you want to get to know more about me, just go over to fpvraceleague.com.
Hello, everybody. This is Elvin Wilson. I've been involved in RC for over 20 years. I've been married for 27 years, and we have 5 awesome kids. I've been a race organizer since early 2015, and I'm known for mentoring new and old pilots. So come on down, and we hope to see you guys at Dover. It's going to be an awesome event.
Yes, we are really excited, and we want to give you some information so that you know what you're going to see when you get there.
Right on.
So that was a quick bio of ourselves. So let's go ahead and get into the content. So, Elvin, if I was a brand new person and I knew nothing about drone racing and I came up to you and I asked you, hey, what is drone racing? How would you answer me?
I would say drone racing is a new high-speed competitive racing sport where skilled pilots fly multirotors through three-dimensional courses at speeds over 60 miles an hour.
That is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and break down that sentence for anybody that's new to our drone racing community. So the first word is multirotor. So multirotor means drone. They actually mean the same thing. Other words that the community uses is quadcopter or quads. So, when you're out and about, they all mean the same thing. Isn't that right, Elvin?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. It's the same ship. They're just different types and different sizes.
That's right. So for drone racing, they're usually very light and very small because they want to stay nimble. But just realize if people call it drones, multirotors, or quads, they mean the exact same thing.
Exactly.
So the next word that we're going to cover is skilled pilots. And the reason why Elvin brings this up is because all of these quadcopters are going to be manually controlled. That means there is no auto stabilization. There's no self-leveling. And why is that, Elvin?
Well, these ain't camera drones, for taking pictures. Most of the stuff that these guys fly has to be turned down, and so that they can, fly as fast as possible and through the course as quick as possible. So you don't want stability mode on at all.
That is true. A lot of people would tell you that when stability mode is turned on for racing, it feels like the quad is trying to take over. You're losing control. So you never want to be at the point where you think the quad is actually doing something you don't want it to do. Hence why every pilot flies in manual mode, is that they want maximum control, which in turn should give them maximum agility, which should give them the fastest lap times, which is what all of these pilots are pursuing. So hence a lot of stick time, a lot of practice. The last word we're going to cover is the 3D aspect. What you're going to notice is that when you look at these courses, you're going to have to go under gauge, you're going to have to go over obstacles. There's a lot of altitude changes, hence why it's very different from what you normally see in RC. Isn't that right, Elvin?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely these vertical courses. The vertical aspect to the course actually makes things a lot more difficult and interesting. It can make a small course a very big course, depending on how many extra high climbs out or over and unders and under and overs, because we do both directions sometimes at the same time. So it's an interesting aspect, and three-dimensional is not like just driving around a track. You can actually back up on this.
That's very true. So this brings us to the IDRA Pro Series. This is what's going to be occurring at the Dover International Speedway. The IDRA, which stands for International Drone Racing Association. The Pro Series is basically the most elite pilots coming together as teams and competing against each other. So this will be a very interesting series because it's the start of something brand new. Elvin, are you excited?
Oh yeah, definitely excited about seeing some of the best pilots in the world racing on some of the best teams that have actually had a chance to perform at other times and are going to try to prove that they're the number one team in the world.
Definitely. And one thing that we want the audience to know is that team drone racing is actually still in its infancy. We do a lot of individual racing, but we actually don't do a lot of team drone racing because it's very hard to actually organize team drone races. You know, it's easy for individual pilots to show up at a particular course on a given weekend, be road warriors, and then just compete against each other. But when you bring together a team, all of a sudden there's collaboration, there's strategy, there's communication involved. So there's a lot of aspects to teams that's really difficult. Isn't that right, Elvin?
Yeah, and one of the aspects that I enjoy is the fact that you can't just grab all the pilots that you want, because none of the teams have the kind of money right now to grab all the best pilots out of one section of the world or out of whatever country they want and just put them on their teams. People are still trying to get together as groups, small groups in their areas, because then they can practice together, because no one actually is making any money at this time.
That is very true. So let's go ahead and get into the racing format. So what's important to know is that each team is required to have 4 people on a team.
And on those teams, there's 4 positions, or 3 positions that each pilot must fulfill. And each pilot must either be a pilot for each heat. They must be a navigator, which is the person that describes to the pilot where the pilot is at on the course, where relative to everyone else. And in case someone is about to pass you, that navigator can tell you that. And he can also tell you if you didn't go through a gate or if you need to turn around and go back. And then the last position that each pilot has to fill is part of the pit crew. And the pit crew change batteries out when you go to pit.
Definitely. So what's important to know is that each team has to rotate through all of their personnel. So each one has to actually do one of those responsibilities. So a pilot is flying, the navigator is communicating with the pilot, giving him the best information that he can, so to give him an advantage on the course, and the pit crew is swapping out batteries. And the reason why the pit crew is so important is because of the format of the race. Each race, the team is required to race or to do 3 laps, pit, swap out the batteries, and do 3 more laps. So it's really important that the pit crew be very efficient, because you'll be losing time there.
And just like in NASCAR, everybody knows that pitting is a very crucial part of racing. You can win or you can lose a race in the pit.
Definitely. So the last thing to talk about is what a qualifying round is. So a qualifying round has 4 heats. So a heat is basically a race. The reason why we have 4 heats is because we have 4 people per team. So each time there's a heat, they swap roles. So everybody has to fly, everybody navigates, everybody pits. So that's the reason why there's 4 heats in a qualifying round. At the end of the qualifying round, they tally up all the points, and then they do the rankings. So the high teams go up, the low teams go down, and that's how we eliminate teams when we get down to the final 4.
And for racing points, this is how the racing points go. For first place, you get 3 points. For second place, you get 2 points. For third place, you get 1 point. And for where I've been before, for fourth place, you get 0 points.
No, it's not that bad. Everybody gets it every once in a while.
It happens.
So that was a quick rundown of the rules and regulations. We didn't really go in depth into those rules because we don't really want to bore you. But if you want to know more about the rules and regulations, or you have questions, definitely put in the comments, email us, let us know, and we will definitely get to them. We want everybody in the racing community to be as knowledgeable as possible. We want you to be there. We want you to be informed so that you can enjoy the race. So definitely let us know if you want to know more about the particular rules or the format. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and put that aside, and we're going to go ahead and look at the track design. Track design is really fun because there's no real right way, no real wrong way to do it. Me and Elvin, we have different opinions. I'm sure we're going to say we like this, we don't like this, and it's just fun to debate them. So we're going to go ahead and look at the track. So if you are looking at this image because you're watching it on YouTube, that's great. If you're not, head over to fpvpodcast.com, fpvpodcast.com, and I will have this image in a blog so that you can look at the image while listening to the audio. So on the left-hand corner, on the corner right here, and that's where we're going to be sitting, or we're going to be sitting in this corner where the green rectangle and the purple L thing, that's where we're going to be sitting at. So we'll have a nice view of the starting line. So these little boxes on this long green stretch, that's where the quads are going to sit. One thing to note is that because of the area we're in, we're only going to have 4 quads in the air. If you've been following drone racing just a little bit, you'll know that there's usually 6 to 8 quads in the air at one time. We're going with 4, which is a good decision because there's going to be a lot of radio frequency interference in this type of events. And Elvin, you've raced and you've been to big events. You understand radio frequency and how much of a problem it can be.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, there's a lot of things we use today that have their own Wi-Fi, spots and Wi-Fi interference. Everybody with their pocket Wi-Fi system, and there's fluorescent lights. There's different radio systems, and we run 5.8 gigahertz video systems and 2.4 gigahertz control systems in most of the drones today, and that corresponds with a lot of the Wi-Fi systems out there. Your normal home cable system usually uses between 2.4 and 5.8 for the system. So there's a lot of noise that's probably going to be at this race. It's going to cause a lot of issues. And we're just going to try to stay on top of it by having only 4 pilots in the air at a time.
Definitely. And it's one of those things where for this type of event to happen, the pilots have to deal with that issue. They have to be able to fly through some bad video. And that's kind of what distinguishes, a really great pro pilot to, an average pro pilot, is that they don't need perfect video in order to fly fast or keep in the air, because sometimes that's what you have to do. It's like the greatest athletes, they thrive on adversity. So for us, right, the athletes, the pilots, they have to thrive on not having the greatest video. That's just life. That's the life at being a big event. Keep in mind, NASCAR is, they're going to be pumping out their own radio frequency. So we really don't know what it's going to look like, but we're going to deal with it the best we can, and we're just going to go with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. Sometimes you have to use the force.
Use the force. There we go. So let's go ahead and get into the track design. So we have a quad on each cube. The beep goes off. They're going to go ahead and go down this nice green path, which probably doesn't exist in real life. And then they're going to go through the big start and finish gate. So right, they get a little chance to build up some speed, and they immediately move into what I would call a slalom, but Elvin has a fancy word for it.
It's called a chicane.
It is called a what? Slalom. I don't know. Chicane. Okay, we'll go with chicane because he's probably right, even though I loathe to admit it. So in a chicane is basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to weave in and through all of these little, what I would assume is going to be flags in real life. And if you don't weave into these flags, you're going to have to turn around and get through them. So right, for you, Elvin, do you like chicanes?
I do. They add an aspect of challenge to the system, and these are staggered. So it's not just you going from left to right, rotating from left to right on each axis, on your roll axis. You're actually going to have to input some yaw control at the same time and actually weave your way through the chicane.
Definitely. And what you'll find is that as the rounds or heats goes by, you're going to find that they're going to be able to do it faster and faster. And at a certain point, if you watch their FPV first person video feed, they'll be able to go through the chicane without even looking at their video field. It's like they can do it blindfolded because they just know where they are and they'll just do it so quickly. It's actually pretty amazing. I've seen some amazingly fast chicane runs going through there. But they'll get through that, take a left-hand turn, and then they're going to have this nice stretch. So this is where they can actually, put the throttle down, give a little bump, and try to gain some speed. But they can't gain too much speed because as soon as they gain all that speed, they're going to have to go into a little figure eight area, and this is where it gets a little challenging. Now, what do you think? You think they can get up to 60 miles an hour in this little straightaway?
Yeah, I think so. With the acceleration that is capable with today's ships and the new motors that are out, and of course with the tri-blade and the four-bladed props out today to get a quicker acceleration, I think you can get up to 60s, maybe 80 miles an hour on this course.
Yeah,
in some spots.
Yeah, in some spots. Obviously, the gate right in the middle is designed to slow you down a little bit because when you bump your throttle, generally speaking, if you bump it too much, you're going to gain altitude because your quad is pitched forward, but it's not going to be at a perfect vertical pitch. Well, most quads aren't at a perfect vertical pitch, and there are a few pilots that are getting pretty close to having their quads completely vertical, but I haven't seen it completely vertical just yet. But one important thing to know is that when they go into this little wall area into that figure eight is they want to stay low because they're going to go through the wall area, go underneath this little building, turn very tightly, almost, it is a 360. To the right, go above the building, and then they want to go above the wall area. So this is definitely a place where it's going to be a lot of traffic, and there's going to be a lot of chances for collision.
Oh, definitely. That wall right there, I can see it. I've seen it before, and it would have probably happened is the last person, the last person usually comes through there and goes a little too high, and the first person, because he's in the lead, he thinks that he's got that room to run through there, and they usually collide. So it's definitely a challenging point in the track, and it'll be interesting to see how many collisions we get.
Definitely. We might have to track that to see what is the high collision spot in this particular track design. So definitely a place where you're going to lose a lot of speed, gets quite technical, medium technical difficulty. Once you get through these two walls going high, what you're going to do is you're going to do a fly above this gate, dip down, fly under this gate, and then you're going to go through this little altitude challenge. So you're going to fly over the gate, under the gate, and then you're going to have to gain altitude, lower your altitude, go through the straightaway gate, and then gain altitude so that you don't run into the last wall. So this is definitely going to challenge people's throttle control and pitch control. What do you think about challenges like this, Alvin?
I love them because it definitely gives you an opportunity to see who's actually paying attention. There's a point when you get in the throttle and you're not really paying attention. You're trying to pay attention to the speed and see where other people are at on the track in front of you, and you can lose your reference and kiss that wall hello.
Kiss that wall hello. So it's very interesting to have this here because up until this point, everything is about turning, and watching where you are on the track so that you can actually get through obstacles. This is a lot about altitude control and pitch control, so very interesting. And then we're going to get into another high traffic area towards the end of the track. So we're going to go ahead and do a left bank. Looks like we're going to go over. We're going to turn on this flagpole and then fly under. So we have this like donut type design area in which there's going to be a lot of quads in this area flying around in a circle. So again, another high collision area. What do you think?
Yeah, this left hand turn oval is going to be a difficult spot because what you actually end up going in some sections of it twice. So you have to enter the oval and then exit the oval, and you're this is definitely an area where we're probably going to see at least one or two really good high speed collisions when guys are trying to balance that roll aspect and go as fast as they can through that section.
Yeah, definitely. This actually kind of reminds me a little bit of what DRL likes to do, because sometimes they do reuse the same part of the track to get a busy part, and it'll cause collisions. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because you know how it goes, right? It's Murphy's Law. It's like you're not going to crash into anybody until it really counts. And then all of a sudden, bam, you're out. And it's like, oh, there goes the points, and that hurts. Remember, you don't finish, you don't get points, so you got to finish. And then once you get through this mini donut, you'll go into a mini chicane, and then you'll be back at the starting line. So this is keep in mind, this is a very short course because of the area that we're in. This is only 150 feet by 150 feet, so it's about a half a football field. And that's because we're at a NASCAR track. You can't stretch out like you do on normal, big fields in the middle of nowhere, or there's 200,000 people that could potentially be roaming around. So space is limited, and they fit. Looks like the IDRA fit a lot of track into a very small area.
Right. It's gonna be fun, because it's a really tight little area. I mean, it's not really little, it's just a large track confined to a small area. That's actually what it is.
It's true. So the next part we're going to talk about real quick is the pitting area. So the pitting area is in the lower left. Those are the big rectangles on the bottom with the blue line coming across. So this is where after the third lap, they're going to have to come in to pit. And because it stretches out so largely on the bottom, I'm kind of wondering if there's going to be a good pitting spot or if there's a bad pitting spot. What do you think, Alvin?
It's hard to tell because right now we can't tell how do you enter the pit, and that's going to be the most crucial point of trying to determine which is the best pitting spot.
That's true. If I had to pick my choice, though, I think I would like the yellow pitting spot all the way at the bottom, because it's at the end of the chicane, in which technically you might have lost some speed, bleed off some speed because of the chicane, and then you can come right in, have your battery shot, and shoot straight out into the straightaway. But that's just my preference. What about you?
I think the second and the third spot might be the most interesting positions to take off from the pit, because there's like a lead way in and a lead way out.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And one other aspect to note is that the pitting area in relation to the flight line. So the flight line, that's where the pilot and the navigator is, and that's located in the middle of the upper left. So you have those two seats, two double-colored seats on there. And what's interesting to note is that it's pretty far away from the pitting lanes. That means that the communication between the pilot and the navigator to the pit crew is going to be very difficult. So that's something that the teams have to account for. Me and Elvin, we actually ran a team race in 2016, and I can tell you communication with the pits is very important. And if you don't have good communications, that's going to cost you in time.
Yeah, pitting is very important with racing, that we learned in the last couple of big races that we went to, and the one that we we're together racing, responsible for it. It can determine the winner or the loser. If someone's not prepared and grabbed the wrong prop and put the wrong prop on the ship, because props go in two different directions. If you put the wrong prop on, the guy can't lift off and he cannot fly. So those mistakes happen, and if someone is not paying attention, I've seen guys come out of the pit and wreck and destroy their ship right off the bat. So, like you said before, if you don't finish the race, you don't get any points.
That is true. That is so true. So it'll be interesting. I think this is going to be a very interesting course, and we're definitely going to be very interested to see it live and see how the pilots think about it, because I'm sure every pilot's going to tackle it in a different way. So if you have any questions about this track design or have any comments to share with us, definitely do. We would love to hear your comments, what you think. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear from you.
Right.
All right, so that is it for our little podcast. We just wanted something short and small for the community to listen to. Definitely reach out to us. And if you see us at the event at the Dover International Speedway, definitely stop by and say hello. We'd love to hear from everybody. Whether you're just a NASCAR fan or you like drone racing, we'd love to hear from all of you. Peace out.
Bye-bye.